President, please be seated. The court is now back in session, and the floor is given to the defense team for Mr. Nguyen Chia to resume the questioning. But please wait. Duc, you can take the floor first. Witness. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I would like to make a clarification in relation to some events. In 1977, late 1977, to my recollection, that is on 20 September 1967, Pol Pot celebrated the creation of the party, and I was in prison at the time, and after the celebration, Pol Pot took the airplane and left. President, please clarify the date again. I heard you say 1967, the date, the year perhaps 1977. Witness, that is right, Mr. President. Thank you for the for reminding me. 22nd September 1976. He celebrated the creation of the party, and in the evening he left for China. Then he came back. He held the study sessions among the members of the center until October, and then Sun Sen convened a study session for general staff. Pin was also there. It was during the time that we saw the signature of Sun Sen on S21 documents. So during the period, he was in Phnom Penh, but not on a permanent basis. This is what I want to clarify, Mr. President. President, thank you very much. And the floor is now given to the defense team for Nguyen Chia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. Before the lunch break, we were speaking about S21 and Regiment 21 being subordinate to the General Staff from the beginning till the end. You were also mentioning Sun Sen. Let me follow up with reading another excerpt from Phnom Penh radio broadcast about Sun Sen. Mr. President, that is document E3/293, English only, ERN 001697774. Mr. Witness, this is about an event on the 29th of July 1978, and it says, the title is Sun Sen leads military delegation to the People's Republic of China. Let me read to you the first sentence of that press report. It says, and I quote, "A military delegation of the government of Democratic Kampuchea, led by Comrade Sun Sen, alternate member of the Standing Committee of the CPK Central Committee, Deputy Prime Minister for National Defense, and Chairman of the Committee of the General Staff of the Kampuchean Revolutionary Army. At 12:30 on 29 July, left Phnom Penh by air for an official friendship visit to China." End of quote. Do you remember this event, Mr. Witness, Son Sen leaving for China in July 78, leading a military delegation?
Thank you. Yes, I can recall that. And there was a civilian. That person was not the soldier. Brother was also seeing Sun Sen's off, and the delegation from military also saw Sun Sen's off.
So as this press report indicates, on the 29th of July, Son Sen was still the chairman of the General Staff and still Deputy Prime Minister for National Defense. Do you know whether there was ever a moment after 29 July 78 that Son Sen stepped down as Deputy Prime Minister for National Defense or chairman of the Committee of the General Staff?
The things changed at S21 after 15th of August 1977. Secretary of S21 reported directly to Uncle Nguyen. That was the change at S21, and the rest was remaining the same. And the study session had been held by Sun Sen, but later on, after 1978, Pol Pot convened the meeting among the soldiers as well. So these were the changes. Nothing changed besides two issues that I raised. The only thing that changed, as I said, the secretary of the regiment of S21 reported directly to Uncle Nguyen when he became my superior.
Well, I'm not sure if you answered my question. But my question was, did Son Sen, after 29 July, step down as Deputy Prime Minister for National Defense, or from his position as Chief of the General Staff? Yes or no?
I have just told the court nothing changed. The position of Brother Sun Sen as the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Defense was still the same. He was still the chairman of the General Staff. Nothing changed in relation to his position.
Mr. Witness, are you aware of any document, a revolutionary flag, a telegram, a radio broadcast, anything that would support your evidence that Nguyen Chia took over from Son Sen on the 15th of August 1977?
That was a normal matter within CPK. That was the minor issue within CPK. When one was absent, the other one took charge. But the problem is that the high-level cadre, Lober himself, should be in charge of S21. And I have no evidence. The practice at the time was like my description.
But you were a party member at its lowest level, far away from the top. You couldn't possibly know, could you?
Thank you. How could I did not know about that issue? Uncle Nguyen called me to see him and said Brother Sun Sen had gone to the battlefield, and Pong was also aware of that. Nguyen Chia said Brother Kyo or Sun Sen had gone to the battlefield, and I had to work with him to do the tasks.
Now let me finish this subject with quoting to you something you said last week on the 8th of June at 9:58 in the morning. You said, and I quote, "When Son Sen talked to me, he was not in his capacity as Chief of the General Staff, but talking in his capacity as Ankar," end of quote. Can you tell me how you knew that? What happened if he would call you? Would he say, "Hello, Duik, now I'm talking to you not as Chief of Staff, but as Ankar?" Or how were you able to distinguish between those various capacities?
Thank you, Counsel, for this question. S21 in fact, I was in charge of S21 in mid-October 1975, and at the time there were individuals who wanted to contact Chief of S21, Siechai alias Dum, wanted to talk to me about a female. Sun Sen saw that female's name was Kim. She had only a pair of clothes with her when she arrived at S21. Later on, Brother Kyo called to me and said, "Duik, I let you at S21 as Angka, not as a general staff. So no one could interfere and check the documents at S21. Only he could have the access to the document at S21. That happened in late 1975 and early 1976. And as I said, Brother Nguyen Lober himself to take charge of me. He was Angka. So Brother Kyo, when he came to work at 21, he came to work at S21 on behalf of Brother Paul and Brother Nguyen Chia. And when Brother Sun Sen had gone to the battlefield, Nguyen Chia came to work at S21 as Angka as well.
Although you have no reason of knowing this at all, but do you know who was going to succeed Pol Pot in the case Pol Pot would die.
Thank you very much. I do not know how to respond to the question you asked. That question, you should find the answer for yourself. President, this is a hypothetical question. Such question cannot be put to the witness as instructed by the chamber.
Well, it's not a hypothetical question. I know the answer to the question, but I think the witness doesn't know the answer to the question. But I'm not inviting for speculation, Mr. President, so I'll move on. Mr. Witness, do you recall what Tamok's opinion was of you?
In 1973, Tamok and I had a brawl or dispute. At the time, he came to Office 201 to train soldiers. He arrested a cadre from Hanoi and sent to S21, and that cadre name was Brightson alias Pot. I talked about this individual already. Pot shot the secretary of regiment named Yan. I ran to see him, and he said, Yan came to attend the study session, and I was told to check the hammock and the cadre staff. And I was warned that if a boat did not confess, I should break his head. And then I was given a pistol, the small one, with the 6-point something caliber. The pistol had no bullets. So after taking the pistol, I went to Comrade Yan. When I went to Comrade Yan, President, the Council does not want to hear the response as you have just answered. I do not know the intention of the Council. He wants to know whether or not you recall the opinions of Tamok. So I do not really understand the intention of the question, but please, Mr. Witness.
Indeed, that was my question, and let me immediately read to the witness why I want to know this. Mr. President, E3/1564, English ERN 00403892, Khmer 00403981. In this WRI, Duik, the witness says, Tamok detested me since 73 and he did not want to employ me. French, by the way, 00403902. Is it true, Mr. Witness, that Tamok detested you?
Look, how
President, please repeat the document number and EON numbers. The interpreters did not follow you reading the document identity and EON numbers. And please mention the document number together with EONs twice.
It's a document E3/1564, English ERN 00403892, Khmer 00403981, French 03902. My question, Mr. Witness, is it correct that Tamok detested you since 1973 and he did not want to employ you?
Thank you. I thank you very much for your question. But this question is not of my interest to give my response, because the question is not full, it's partial one. If you do not listen to, if you do not want to listen to my statement, I think I have explained already. What I said is correct. I do not have any things to tell you. Concerning my case with Yan, that was known to Pol Pot. And the fact that Tamok did not want to use me, that was known to Pol Pot as well. Tamok did not test me.
Maybe something went wrong in the translation. I was using the English word detested you, despised you, found you contemptible. Is that something that you said?
Superior and subordinates. When superior hates a subordinate, the subordinates hates the superior. So he did not use me. He did not want to talk to me, and that was known to Pol Pot. And I learned that the issue between him and I was known to Pol Pot from Won.
The reason I'm
I
asking...
think perhaps what witness tried to do when he was interrupted earlier is explain the reason for this kind of assessment.
I understand, but the story takes forever, and I wanted to interrupt him. But the actual reason why I'm asking is, let me go to that particular document. That's on Bat's book, Mr. President, E3/4202. On English page 119, Khmer ERN 00858361, French 008494550, and English 007575538. There it is. The situation is described as follows. Tamok told Nuon Chea to get rid of you because you were malfunctioning completely. Nuon Chea tried 3 times with Son Sen to have you fired. You were investigated, but Son Sen didn't want to let you go. Is that something you knew at the time? Is that something that you heard of?
President, please wait, Mr. Witness. You have the floor now, International Deputy Co-Prosecutor.
I'd ask counsel that counsel simply read the quote rather than characterizing it, because some of the characterizations he's made are his own, and he should just read the quote from the book.
President, Mr. Witness, you are instructed to respond. Do you recall the question? Witness, Mr. President, I think that Ted Sambat was an external person. He knew nothing about what happened. I knew Nuon Chea. I knew what he was like, and what Tamok was like, and what Son Sen was like back then. So I do not have anything to explain about the imaginary opinions of Ted Sambat. Ted Sambat was not engaged in the task, so how could he be sure of what happened? President, you may proceed, Judge Lavenge.
Oui, Maître Copé, est-ce que vous...
Yes, Counsel Kope. When you refer to the book of Ted Sambak is relying on the statement made by Nuon Chea. Otherwise, what is the basis, what are the sources of that statement? Can you clarify that issue, please?
No, I cannot, Judge Lavagna, but I'm happy to read the exact quote, also following the remarks from the prosecution. It says, not as a quote, Nuon Chea later told Son Sen 3 times about what Tamok had told him. Son Sen said he would investigate the matter, but he didn't remove Duik and said he was good. Nuon Chea also told Pol Pot what Tamok had said, and then follows a quote, I don't know what he thought about that. But having said that, Mr. Witness, let me ask the question in general. Are you aware of any attempts to have you removed from your position? Any attempts from people in the standing committee to have you removed and Son Sen refused?
That is why I said Ted Sambat was a man out of the story, or he was not engaged in the task. The statement by Uncle Nuon was beyond the truth. I wanted to explain you, and you interrupted me, so that's all I could say. So how could I explain that to you if you interrupted me? I want to tell the truth about what happened.
Let me move on to my next subject, Mr. Witness, and that is your work at S21 itself, and your work in relation to investigations into treason and rebellion, etc. But before I go into that, let me first ask you some questions about the beginning of S21 at what is presently known as the Tuol Sleng Museum, and the last days of your work there. It's still, to me, a bit unclear as to when the exact moving of the operation of S21 was to what is now known as the Tuol Sleng Museum, or the formerly known Ponyat High School. I'm referring to a statement or testimony that you gave to the investigators of the investigating judges, E3/5748, Khmer ERN 001534558, English 00153567, French 001534444. There you say, in April '76, I decided to transfer the center to the Ponyat High School. I'm trying to be very specific as to the date. You have given testimony that Division 170 Cadre Yin Sambat was arrested shortly after he threw that grenade. Do you recall whether you were already working from the Ponyat High School when Yin Sambat was arrested, or were you still at the other premises when the grenade incident of the 4th of April 1976 happened.
At that point in time, I worked at the former National Police headquarters, and I assigned Comrade Ho to interrogate Nguyen Sambat. The building he was interrogated in was actually faced the north direction.
North where?
It was the building in the middle.
So just to be 100% clear so that I understand, when Yin Sambat was arrested, you had not yet moved to what is now known as the Tulslang Museum premises, correct?
First, allow me to correct your statement. You refer to Tulslang Museum. In fact, Tulslang Museum is a new label after 7 January 1979. And the word S21 office was the official name assigned by the party. So please don't get confused between the two. And regarding Yim Sambat, at that time, the interrogation office of I-21 was at the PJ location, that is the National Police headquarters.
That's very clear. Before I come back to the interrogation of Yin Sambat, just to be sure, I would like to show you a document that's in your binder, tab 29. I'm not sure if the binder is here's the binder again. So, Mr. President, that is document E3/1062, 10062. There's a Khmer version only. It's document ERN Khmer 01012815, and maybe we can have it on the screen as well.
Yes, you may proceed, and every unit, please project the document on screen.
There it is, tab 29, Mr. Witness. I would like you to have a look at that document, and then especially the second name from the top.
Yes, I see it.
What does it say? Which name?
It's 107, that is the number. It reads Yim Sambat, Kabatnal, Phnom Penh, group of 50 from the east. The date is 4/4/76.
So this is the day that Yin Sambat was arrested, but he was not yet detained at any building on the premises of the former Ponya Yat High School, correct?
In democratic Cambodia regime, when someone was arrested, it means the person will be sent straight to be detained. There was no judicial proceedings against that person.
That was not my question. I'm trying to establish what the exact date was when you moved the S21 organization to what is now known as the Tuol Sleng Museum premises, formerly the Ponya Yat High School. You said it was after Yin Sambat was arrested. Can you give us an indication as to how long after the grenade incident it was that S21 was established at what is now known as the Tuol Sleng Museum?
Mr. President, allow me to clarify this matter again. It's S21. We should refer to it as S21, and it belonged to Pol Pot. Why you keep using the word now known as a museum? As I said, the label museum was only used after 7 January 79. Because though it was the president or chief of S21, the office belonged to Pol Pot. And I have mentioned at length regarding the assignment by the party center to be chief of S21, that is from the 15th August 75. And by mid-March 1976, the party center assigned me to be chief when Nad was transferred out. He was no longer the secretary of S21. And from the day that Nad left, I was acting as chief. And when the superior called me to work with him, I was the only one who was called. And before that, when Nad was in, I would go along with Nad. So initially I was a deputy, and later on I became chief. And I have made mention this on several occasions, and I hope that you would not put this question again.
Mr. Witness, it would be better for everyone if you actually listen to the question that I'm asking you. Let me try with a different document. Let me show you on the screen, I don't think it's in the binder, document E3/10085. Mr. President, that is Khmer 010 13478. With your leave, I can give a paper copy to the witness, and maybe it can be shown.
Yes, you can proceed. And every unit, please project the document on screen as requested by the Defense Counsel.
Mr. Witness, do you recognize this document?
Chan Chakray alias Mien was Secretary of Division 170, and I know this person since we were born in the same year. He was arrested and sent to S21. However, the handwriting on this document did not belong to any S20 of anyone at S21.
Now you've given testimony that Chan Chakray was arrested on the 19th of May 1976. Considering this document, was S21 on the 19th of May still not moved to the premises, what is now known as the Tulslang Museum?
I can recall that Chan Chakray was interrogated at the outside compound of the former Punyayat High School. He was not interrogated within the inner compound of the premises.
So by the time that Chan Chakray was interrogated, you had in fact moved, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And that's what I have stated.
Now let me go to the last days of the operation of S21. You've given testimony about that last day, the 7th of January 1979. Let me quote to you so that I can help you a bit. E3/452, Mr. President. English ERN 00147564. Khmer 00146550. And French 00147927. You said on 7 January at 11 hours, an opposition army tank force arrived at my house. At that time, all S21 personnel were bewildered because this was contrary to the instruction and orders of 6 January 79. End of quote. Can you say something about the state of bewilderment of you and the other S21 cadres? Why was it that you were bewildered?
In fact, the word bewilderment was not a proper translation of the Khmer term. And if you want to know the real situation at the time, I can explain that to you. Otherwise, you may keep the word bewilderment with you. President Witness Deutsch, please state the matter clearly so that it is clear once and for all. Of course, you are being cross-examined by the defense counsel, and they have different techniques and strategies in questioning you. So please respond to the question put to you by the defense counsel so that it is clear that you would not be asked that question again. Witness. Thank you, Mr. President. A few days ago, I made mention of that situation as well. On the 6th of January 1979, Comrade Lin came to me and asking me to go and work with a brother, so I went. That is at the Saramrat Buddhist school. And at that time I went to work with Brother Haim and not a Brother Noon. And of course the way that I worked with Brother Noon, I made mention of that at length. And allow me to repeat what Brother Haim said. He said that, comrades, and here he wanted to refer to everyone that we should not be panicked or surprised. Although a Yun group came deep inside, Ruan and San were defending against their advancement, and so that we should keep working. That night I was not well, and Tirat sent my younger in-law to return. In fact, I sent my younger in-law to learn how to do the child care course. And by 12 o'clock, I heard the thundering sounds of convoys of vehicles, and I was wondering what happened because we just received instructions from the party. At 11 o'clock, I was taking my wife for a meal, and then a tank was rolling in, and I said, "Oh, the Yun had arrived." And I shouted to the soldiers to stop having their meals and return to their respective posts and awaiting new instructions. At the time, Ho was standing near me and asking about the 4 people from Y8, and he said that the 4 had been smashed per instructions from Brother Noon. And I sent people to survey the roads, and they saw people from Yard School who wanted to take refuge with us. And once in a while, a tank was passing by to the north direction, and by about 3 o'clock, I left I-21, that is the former Punyayat School, and I headed towards Sansam Kosal Pagoda, or school, and by about 5:30 or 6 p.m., I took a shortcut toward the radio station at Banti Mienchey, and I actually asked them to cooperate in order to counterattack the advancement of the Yun. And then those Air Force from 502 said, "How come, brother? Because everybody left, and why are you still here?" And then they said they would destroy the artillery cannons there before they left. So then we went further, and at National Road number 4, I saw columns of tanks rolling. And at that time, we split into 2. One took a group and left to the other side of National Road number 4, while I took another group to Tamat Pong. So the situation was not bewildered. Of course, we all had experience. We were calm, and nobody was in a panic mode. But I was wondering, because the situation seems to contradict what the party just instructed us not many hours ago.
Well, Mr. Witness, what I'm particularly interested in about that day is the following. And let me read to you what you said to the investigating judges. Mr. President, E3/452, English 00147,570, Khmer 00146,557, French 00147,932, you were talking about confessions, and you said the following, and I will quote you. The confessions had to be done in duplicate. I kept the copies, and originals were sent to the upper echelon. The copy documents I kept in my garage, and when I fled, I never touched all those documents. End of quote. Now my first question is, where exactly did you keep those confessions that you had assembled in the garage?
I kept those documents actually on the floor in the garage, since I did not have any shelves to store them. Camera Chain, my messenger, was the one who usually maintained those documents in the garage. And allow me to add one thing. Initially, I made 2 copies of documents. However, if the document had to be sent to a zone, then I had to make extra copies. For example, 1 copy to the North Zone. As the policy of making 2 copies was the initial concept.
And do you remember the copies of those confessions that you kept in the garage on the floor? Whether these were all the confessions, all the statements ever given to you or to interrogators by the prisoners? Was that the total? Those confessions, were they all there were?
I am not sure about the confessions, whether they were all the confessions or whether they were confessions of important prisoners. There could be some confessions at the office of Comrade Pon.
When you fled with the others, did you see any of the other cadres, especially Susti, but also others, carry any of the confessions from S21?
I do not recall that. However, I recall that Mom Nai, Ho, Pon, Paul and I went together as a group, and only Comrade Van, that is a cadre who took another group who went a separate way at National Road number 4. And in fact, there was his WRI of his, although he did not come to testify here in person. And I cannot recall who else went with Comrade Van. Also for Comrade T, I did not know which group he fled along with.
Now, in your own trial, you've read extensively the book that historian David Chandler wrote on S21, document E3/1684, and in his book, English ERN 00192685, Khmer 0019818835, and French 00357268. In his book, he says that about 4,300 confessions were roughly saved, were found around the premises of S21 and S21 itself. Do you remember reading that in Chandler's book, and are you in a position to say whether that is in fact the total number of confessions that either you at your house kept or others at other places?
Regarding the confessions of the enemy, and allow me to use the word enemy because that was the terms that was used during the regime. I cannot recall how many confessions there were, and I also do not recall about what was stated by David Chandler. And because of the sheer amount of papers, he said he was swimming amongst those documents, and he could not know the exact number of documents.
I realize it's difficult to know exact numbers, but again, my question is 4,300 confessions. Could that be an accurate total that was found in your house and other houses by the Vietnamese troops?
I cannot say anything about that, because there were also many prisoners who were smashed without having any confessions. Of course, the number of confessions of 4,000 or something is also a lot, but I cannot say for sure whether that was the actual number. I do not want to make a speculation here.
I will get back to that number when I will talk about some other subjects of S21. But let me return now, Mr. Witness, to that person that I referred to earlier, Yin Sambat. As you confirmed, he arrived at the other premises of S21 on the 4th of April 76. But he was arrested for a reason. And earlier you said he was arrested because he had thrown a grenade behind the royal palace. Can you expand a little bit as to what happened? What had Yin Sambat done? Can you be more specific? Can you give more details as to what exactly happened with him and other Division 170 cadres?
Witness, please hold on, and Judge Laverne, you have the floor.
Est-ce que Yim Sambat
Is Yen Sambat supposed to have had any conversations apart from the interrogations of this prisoner at S21 or at the Central Police Station? Was what he was able to read from the interrogations of that prisoner not tainted by torture? Is that not torture tainted?
Well, there are various documents that actually refer to an incident. And I want to establish whether the incident took place. So it seems that before Yin Sambat was arrested, maybe there were eyewitnesses as to what happened. So it throwing of a grenade or bombs or multiple grenades is an action and doesn't necessarily have anything to do with statements or confessions. So my question is, Mr. Witness, do you know anything about that grenade throwing incident other than your information from any statements, any confessions from anyone?
I would like to clarify the location behind the Royal Palace. That location was initially managed or owned by Division 170 of Chakrai. Division 180, managed by Pong, Lin and Kami, was the division protecting the center. And after the grenade throwing incident, Division 170 was removed from that location, and 180 division was posted there. Pong was looking around, was going to Pong went to the location and examined what happened, and it was said that a person from inside the house went outside and threw the grenade into the house. And later on, an individual, Yum Sambat, was arrested, and I was instructed not to interrogate, but an individual, another category should be the interrogator. The grenade throwing incident was meant to only break a little stuff at that place, not to cause destruction to the Royal Palace, and not to make the incident known to the world.
But what did you know about that incident? Did people die? Was it one grenade? More than one grenade? Were there eyewitnesses? Can you tell us anything about that particular day?
Eyewitnesses under the Western law were not found after the incident, but as I said, that location was in charge by Division 170. So whatever happened within the location of 170, Division 170 should be responsible before the party. After the explosion of the grenade, Division 170 was removed, and Pong took me to that location and explained to me about what had happened, and I presumed 50% that an individual from within the house went outside and threw the grenade into the house. Later on, Yum Sambat was arrested, and again, that location was managed by Division 170 of Division 170, and no one got injured from the incident.
You spoke in E3/9362 that Yin Sambat detonated grenades, multiple, behind the royal palace. Did those grenades explode on the same day as he was arrested, on the 4th of April, 76? If you're looking for, it's E3/9362, English ERN 00792004, Khmer 00787956. So again, my question, was Yin Sambat arrested on the same day as those grenades were detonated behind the royal palace?
The grenade throwing incident and the day that he was arrested was not close to one another. He was not immediately arrested after the incident. In practical speaking, that location was managed by Division 170 and Yum Sambat regiment was there as well, and that regiment was managed by Yum Sambat.
So then my following question would be, how did you come to Yin Sambat? Why was it that Yin Sambat was arrested?
Regarding the arrest of Yum Sambat, it is because, number one, that location was in charge by him to secure the security of Phnom Penh. And number two, which enemy could enter into that headquarter or location, and after I went with Pong to the location to examine the situation, I presume 50% that there was an individual from within the house went outside and threw back the grenade into the house.
Now you said on multiple occasions that Yin Sambat was not tortured. Let me read to you something more specific on this. E3/356, English ERN 00242900, Khmer 00242889. And the reason as to why Yin Sambat was not quote-unquote tortured is because you said Son Sen did not want himself in an inferior position with respect to Chanchakrai, who would have been able to hold against him that the confession had been made under torture. End of quote. What exactly did you mean when you said that Son Sen did not want to be in an inferior position with respect to Chanchakrai?
For clarity, I would like to explain the issue in broad aspect. Chakrai was an individual suspected by the center. Chakrai was liked, or the cadre loved by Phum, the Secretary of the East, and then he was removed and put in the General Staff as a assistant to the General Staff. So he was the assistant after the removal. And after the division of the land behind the Royal Palace, a plot of land was given to the regiment. So the decision to arrest was made by Son Sen. And I was instructed by Son Sen not to interrogate Jim Sambat by myself, and an individual should be assigned to interrogate, but not Pon. After the arrest, I gave Jim Sambat to Ho for interrogation. A few hours later, I went on my motorbike to see Ho, and Ho gave me the recording together with a text, and I wrapped that recording and sent it up the line. And I also have a photograph of Yum Sambat sitting and drinking coconut, which was given to him, and that photo was shown to Chakrai so that he confessed. And at the time, Chakrai said that was Yum Sambat who did or created the incident, and Son Sen got angry after hearing that. So Son Sen instructed me not to beat up Chan Chakrai, and as I said, I showed the photograph of Yum Sambat drinking coconut to Chakrai to confess. This is a summary of the incident, and since it is a summarized one, perhaps it's a bit different from the previous statement. Let me add another point. Later on, Yum Sambat still underwent torture, but for the first or initial stage, he was not tortured. President, thank you, Mr. Witness. It is now break time. The chamber will take a short break from now until 3:05 p.m. Court officers, please assist the witness in the waiting room during the break time and invite him back to the courtroom at 3:05.